If you have tried to lose weight 100 times and failed every single time, this video is for you. I know how frustrating it feels when nothing seems to work, but today I'm sharing 5 essential rules that helped me get through a huge plateau and get to 20% body fat, and it's going to take me beyond. These aren't complicated diet tricks or gym tricks that help people who are only in the gym 2 hours a day. These are actually quite simple. You can start these today and you will literally get immediate results. The best part is that once you learn these habits and you integrate these into your lives, keeping the weight off actually becomes quite easy. Yes, you can still enjoy your pizza and your beer without gaining it all back. So if you're ready to succeed where you failed before, let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first tip is like house flipping, but for your body. Let me explain. You know those house flipping shows? They start with like a really crappy looking house, and then 20 minutes into the episode, the house looks like way worse, like beyond saving, because they're tearing it down and they're pulling out walls and pulling out carpet, and it just looks even worse. But the before and after, whenever you look at the after, is shocking, and it is a beautiful flip that they usually do. That's going to be you, and this might be a little bit disheartening, but stick with me. You're going to look worse before you look better. When you first start losing fat, something kind of strange happens to your body if you're not ready for it. As your fat goes away, you might not like exactly what you see underneath. It might expose the fact that you don't have very much muscle and you don't have very much shape yet. Your clothes will feel looser, but you also feel smaller and you still kind of feel overweight. The reason this happens is because your muscles lose that stored energy that is inside of them called glycogen that actually allows them to be used properly. That is one of the major drop-offs you have at weight whenever you first start your weight loss program. So your muscles start to look kind of flat. Real quick, if meal prep is a problem for you, my cookbook has delicious recipes in it. The cheesy Mexican protein rice is my favorite right now, and they are meal prep size meals. They make a lot of meals. Link in the description in the pinned comment. You're going to love it. It's going to help you lose weight. So like I mentioned briefly just a second ago, without enough muscle, your body won't have that shape. You might start to almost feel kind of skinny fat, or to see the future of what skinny fat would look like. And it won't feel very pleasant at first, but I promise there's a much better version of you waiting on the other side. Most people don't know how much work it actually takes, and this starts to really kind of expose that, and it doesn't feel nice. But this process, although it is very long, it is very, very rewarding. And if you push through that initial, I feel like I look worse. If you push through that phase, you are going to love what you see. You might even wonder, and I just tell you this to prepare you so that you keep going. Like, are you doing something wrong? Am I, should I be doing something different? And you're not. It's just part of the process. I promise everyone that has a lot of fat to lose, this is the part that you got to get through. And don't worry, you're not doing anything wrong. The next rule I call my rapid recovery system. This has to do with slip ups. You are going to slip up. This is not going to be perfect. Mentally prepare for that. Speed of recovery, or speed to how fast you get back on the horse, that is what dictates a person who ends up failing and a person who has success. The R is recognize the slip up. Recognize what led to that. What trigger led to that? Was it, you watching a game, or you being unprepared on meal prep or whatever? And like I said, make sure to grab my cookbooks. That really, really helps. But whatever that was, learn from it and apply yourself to like what caused that. The second, I know, is kind of corny, but it also fits the acronym, and that's accept it. Accept it and just move on. How you're going to move on, and this is part of the acronym, is the P, is plan your next meal. Taking action on something, not just saying, okay, I'm going to try to forget it, but actually moving towards your goals by planning out your next meal is going to help you tremendously. I stands for implement immediately. So start taking action on that meal, or go with the D in RAPID, which is don't delay restarting. Go for a walk, go for a workout, do something and take an action towards your goals. I promise it doesn't take long for you to feel like, you know what, that was really irrelevant. It might take a day, but the very next day you are going to be ahead of where the slip up was if you move on from it right away. These slip ups are completely normal, and it literally happens to everyone. Think of it like a stepping stone on your way to having a new body and making this transformation. Some people wait for the next Monday in order to start again. These people almost always fail. I've seen this too many times with my clients or wannabe clients or people that I'm coaching. Some people wait until tomorrow to get back on track. And those people sometimes succeed, but most of the time, again, they end up quitting. The winners get back on track at the very next meal. They know that one meal is not bad, no matter how bad the meal actually was, no matter how much you actually consumed. Now, I mean, if you consumed like 3,000 calories, that might be a different story. But even then, it's just not that big of a deal. It'll take you a couple days to make up for that, a week to make up for that, and to feel like you're back on track. And I also like to think of some extra calories as like an opportunity to build muscle for a week. So let's say you overconsume by a whole lot on Super Bowl Sunday or something. That's just a common one that comes to mind. You could use that for the next week to build a little bit of extra muscle. That'll help your basal metabolic. Oh my gosh, I can't talk. That'll help your basal metabolic rate. Your metabolism will go up. You'll be able to burn fat even easier because now you have a little bit more muscle. Even if it's just a fraction of a pound of muscle, it's something and it benefited you. I'm telling you, getting back on track quickly is the secret to success. And if you think about it, one bad meal out of 21 meals a week, and I have more than 3 meals a day. I have really like four, like 3 meals and a big snack, almost 4 meals. So one meal out of 28 meals, that's just not going to be a big deal, even if you way overdid it. And every time that you bounce back, you build that skill of resilience. Because I promise there's going to be a time where you're on vacation and you feel guilty about something you ate, but working that muscle, no pun really intended, but working that muscle of getting back on track is something that you're going to need in the future anyway, whether it's a wedding or a funeral or a vacation or whatever. There's food at almost all special events. And kind of going back to the pizza and beer thing that I mentioned earlier, that is the secret to having pizza and beer whenever you've reached your maintenance phase. You're still going to feel like this is not part of what makes me a successful, fit guy, this pizza and beer, but I got to move on from it. And you've built that skill because of the journey you were on leading up to that. The next rule, take a look at this weight loss graph. This is James's weight loss graph. So I have it on my phone here. You can see that stall kind of in the middle where there's this like flat little bit. We didn't cut calories to get through this plateau. I find that cutting calories lower and lower almost always ends in failure. You can only cut calories so many times and eat so little before your body starts to fight back with hormones and all these things that are telling you, hey, you got to eat. But the better shape that you get in, the more calories you can burn during exercise. Let me explain. The more muscle you have from your weightlifting, the more you're going to burn while walking, while doing your cardio, while lifting weights, while just resting. Now, here's the real cool thing, the cool mixture of that. If you are more fit and can do your cardio or your steps, you can walk further, you can do it faster, and you have more muscle, so during that cardio, you were actually burning more calories, that just comes together. You're scorching calories at that point. So this rule is about movement. It is the key that unlocks everything. I really believe that. It's not about cutting calories, it's about increasing your calorie burn. I mean, of course, we have to do both, but we really want to focus. Sorry if that shocked you. We really want to focus on building up the amount of calories that you are burning. Also, think of building muscle as like a car engine. The bigger the engine, the more energy it uses, the more fuel efficient or the less fuel efficient it becomes, the more fuel that it actually uses. And maybe with cars, some people think that is a bad thing or whatever, but I'm thinking of muscle as being a fuel burning engine as a really good thing for you, because then, like I said, at the end of this journey, whenever you're on maintenance, let's say your maintenance calories are 3,000 and before they might have been 2,200 or whatever. If your maintenance calories are 3,000, you're exercising, you're moving, you're scorching calories, you can fit pizza and beer into that. I'm going to keep referencing pizza and beer, but fill in the blank with whatever you want. All of this stuff is based around movement, not cutting calories. You see the difference between a full life where you are moving a bunch and a life where you're just trying to drain out the fat by squeezing out the calories from your diet. They're two totally different things. Find movement that you actually enjoy. It doesn't have to be a gym. It could be tennis. It could be going for walks. It would be preferred if a piece of your movement was a workout program, such as using Olympic rings or going to the gym and lifting weights. Keeping that muscle mass, that's key. But in terms of like the amount, like something that you're doing kind of on a day in, day out basis, or at least multiple times a week, it could be cycling. Find a hobby of some sort that you get to press into and really have as your outlet to burn a lot of calories. So for this next rule, I'm calling it the correct and incorrect kind of pyramids. So let me show you these two pyramids. The first one is the one we typically pursue, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with it. These are the typical pursuit of goals when a person comes to see me. They are chasing the pounds, right? The weight loss, and then their health, like, oh, well, I get healthier and that's important to them. And then their performance. But that particular triangle topples over pretty easy. Although there's nothing wrong with the shape of that triangle, it is still a triangle. It's not necessarily going to be a super stable triangle. Whereas real long-term results come from the triangle that looks like this, which is we seek performance first and then health and then weight loss, because the weight loss just comes with these things. Now, I'm not saying it is bad to want to look better. That is a perfectly fine goal. In fact, it is the main driver of what most people start with, and that's okay. Please understand that is okay. You can start with the first triangle, but I promise it'll probably naturally gravitate to that second triangle where you have a much more stable base, and the triangle is going to, or the pyramid is going to stay up, and you're going to stick with it because it turns into I'm going to seek performance, and that leads to better health, and that leads to effortless weight loss. It's also way more fun to focus on things that your body can do rather than how it looks, because again, as it can do more, it's going to look better anyway. And if you have a hobby like pickleball, tennis, or rock climbing or something, getting better at those things is a whole lot of fun, but also lifting more weight and becoming just better in the gym, feeling stronger in your everyday life with your family or whatever, those things are just a lot more tangible. You can feel them happening instead of obsessing over the mirror or the scale. Also, being better at sports, because like you'll become better, you just, you'll be lighter, you'll be more fit. It makes you feel young, makes you feel like a man again. You'll also be a better friend because you'll say yes to more things. You're not as tired. So the way of tracking these performance increases might be like the number of push-ups you can do, or how fast you can walk a mile or run a mile, if you can even run a mile, things like that. Your cardio, how fast you're pedaling or whatever. Pick something that you enjoy doing and kind of measure how you're doing in that performance. Of course, your lifts are a big one. So if you lift 135 pounds on the bench press and you slowly start to increase until you hit 225, 2 plates, I mean, that's a wonderful feeling. One of my favorite things, this isn't even in my notes, I just thought of this just now, was doing my first pull-up, like pulling myself all the way up to the bar and then doing it multiple times. It just, I don't know. For me, I was never able to do that, so that felt pretty good. Now I have this graphic for you for this next rule, and it's the climb of Mount Everest. So check out, I think this is really cool. The climb has these camps at like 21,000 feet, and there's one below that. It's really small on my phone. It's bigger for you, but there's one at 23,000 feet, and there's different camps. I thought that graphic was interesting. I had no idea before researching for this video that this was a thing, but of course it is. I just never thought about it. Did you know that the climb to Mount Everest at the top of Mount Everest takes 2 to 3 months? I had no idea. It's 43 miles or so, and sometimes it is literally straight up. Like you got to climb with picks and stuff. At least that's the pictures that I saw. No one climbs Mount Everest in one go. The mountain, Mount Everest, is your journey, but the peaks, the places that are flat, the camps, those are places where you get to rest up and recuperate in order to finish the climb. No one can finish Mount Everest in one go. I wanted to repeat that. You can't finish your massive weight loss journey in one go. Please don't try to. It's going to help you so much to take diet breaks, and that's the next rule. So diet breaks and maintenance periods. Diet breaks are your secret weapon for long-term success. I promise. None of my clients seem excited by the thought of a diet break, but the ones that embrace it, they always have more success, 100% of the time. Diet breaks help you reset your body's hormones, the things that are working against you, telling you to eat, like leptin and ghrelin and cortisol. It makes you feel good again. Also, being in a chronic deficit lowers your testosterone, so allowing your testosterone to go back up. Testosterone is a feel-good hormone. For men, it is something that drives us to do stuff. And of course, it helps us hold muscle and everything. So you want more testosterone. The diet breaks, because of all these hormone shifts, are going to give you the energy back that a calorie deficit slowly takes away from you. Calorie deficits are needed. I don't want to beat up on them too much. But if you try to go 6 months in a calorie deficit, you are going to feel it. But you might not even know because it's a slow progress down. And then whenever you take a diet break and you maintain, and the trick is actually maintaining and being careful with it. And we're going to talk more about that. But you'll realize, wow, I'm getting better sleep. I feel better. This is awesome. Diet breaks also help you prevent huge binges that you're building into. I'm sure we've all been there. Definitely I have. Where you lose a bunch of weight and then there's this, this turning point, birthdays, holidays, whatever, and then you go up. That one binge just kept on going for months and months and months, and you end up gaining all of it back, if not more. Now, during a diet break, you might see a slight increase in water weight. Don't worry, that is literally just water weight. It's muscle glycogen filling your muscles again, and the water that carries that muscle glycogen. So you might actually feel more full and stronger and feel like your muscles look a little better. Don't worry about the scale during this time. It'll go up by 2 to 6 pounds or something like that, and that's your new normal. That's okay. We're going to approach a diet again. Don't worry. Obviously, as the name implies, during a diet break, you're not trying to lose weight anymore, so you don't want to see it continue to go down. Now, if it slows down and then you keep adding calories, and we're going to talk about that in a second, then that's okay. If it's just like kind of creeps to a flat line, that's okay as well. But you want to have a period where the line is pretty flat during your daily weigh-ins. So I'm going to talk about how to add calories on the next rule because it has to do with your final destination. But for now, I'll say that your diet break needs to be usually about 8 to 12 weeks if you've been dieting pretty hard, or about half of your diet length. So if you've been on a 3-month, 12-week diet, about 6 weeks is okay. But if you don't feel like, you are ready to get back into the diet, then you can take a little bit longer. With that said, I have seen plenty of instances, at least with my clients, and maybe it's because I'm coaching them and they have me in their corner and they kind of are ready to restart. They seem ready to go 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. So a diet break doesn't have to be super long. And it really does seem to be long enough around the 2 to 3 week mark. But like I said, maybe that's more because they have me in their corner rooting them on, not pressuring them to go, but I'm saying they're ready, man. They're paying me. They're ready to go. And so maybe there's a little bit of a difference there. So just consider that. I really don't want you to think of diet breaks as cheating. We're going to get into what that looks like in the next rule because it's just building on this rule. but it's not cheat meals and eating donuts and everything. It's not going crazy. It's being really intentional with, I'm going to rest here. Let's go back to that mountain analogy. I'm going to rest here so that I can keep climbing. If I kept climbing, I would fail. So just know that this is a smart move. This is being tough. This is being strong. Taking a diet break is the way to go. So for this next rule, it's kind of building on rule number 4. This is where most people panic and most people end up failing. So in this rule, you've made it. You've made your goal weight. Now what? A lot of people end up gaining it all back. Let's prevent that. So if you've lost all the weight, typically a person is scared to eat more. They're scared to kind of go back to normal. Now you're not going back to the way things were. You're going to have a new normal, and it's very easy to maintain that, but you have to embrace that new normal. So let's talk about what that looks like. What if you trusted the process? What if this process that we're about to talk about leads to freedom and leads to more living than you've ever experienced before? So that's what this is all about, is transitioning into maintenance. So here is the key. You're going to eat the exact same healthy foods. All the recipes you've been using, everything, nothing changes. You do the exact same thing. You just eat more of it. About 150 calories more per week until you see your weight loss graph. If it's going down like this, you're going to see it slowly start to taper off, and then you might even see it go up a little bit, and then you're going to see a nice flat for like 2 weeks weight loss graph. And then that's how you know, if you've been adding 150 calories every week, you're really close to your maintenance. Typically from there, what I'll do is, like, let's say a person's reached their maintenance and I see 2 weeks where it looks like they're pretty flat. I'll actually lower their calories again by like 50, because if you lose another half pound of fat, who cares? I just want to make sure that we're not accidentally, in a little bit of a surplus. So I lower them by 50 again, which, let's get real, who can track 50 calories? But it's something, So that's what I do. I wait for that flat line, and then I have my clients bump their calories back down by 50 and see if it stays flat. I promise you, please don't think you're the exception. You can always eat junk food later, okay? Right now, at the end of a diet, when you finally reach your peak physique and you finally have your goal, you are the most susceptible to junk food. Junk food is already designed to get you to want to eat more. And your hormones are already at that stage, are already, designed to get you to eat more. So something that's addictive, something that's really palatable and easy to consume, combined with your body wants more food. It wants more broccoli and chicken, let alone a burger and soda and sugary things, donuts or whatever. Those things are going to be way too easy to overeat on. This isn't your fault. These are hormones and survival techniques that our body does. These are things we should be grateful for. But in a world where we have entirely too much highly palatable, high calorie foods, we don't really need this at this stage in our journey. We don't need these defensive, mechanisms for our body. So we have to be aware of them. On your final diet break, meaning you're transitioning into maintenance, definitely take 6 to 8 weeks. What I would do with my clients, and a lot of them, they feel like they want to leave my program at that point, and I don't blame them. A person totally could, and I'll warn them about all this stuff. But I really like coaching them through that 6 to 8 weeks, a full 2 months where we hit this very meticulously, and we make sure that you are feeling great before consuming your first like really heavy junk cheat meal, I guess you could call it. So I have people at the end of 8 weeks, at the end of 2 months, and we intentionally try not to have any like bad food during that time, just to really get a person up to their standard. I'll have them start with one cheat meal a week on that second bout. So the first like 4 weeks of their maintenance period is completely clean food. And then the second 4 weeks, you have one cheat meal a week. That totals 8 weeks of your maintenance, switching into your maintenance phase. Now you have to master the art of moving on. So every time you have that cheat meal, know this is literally part of the plan that Aaron gave me, and I'm just going to move on. Whatever happens to my weight happens. And then, you'll see that it goes back down. Eat pizza, drink beer, and then have an awesome workout the next day. Now, here's a key. Don't drink so much beer that you can't have an awesome workout. You got to start controlling your alcohol. No more 18 beer, benders with your friends. Like, it has to be controlled. Every once in a while, if you're a drinker or whatever, sure, go ahead and have fun at a wedding. But I'm saying, like, most times that you go out, it has to be 3-4 beers. So during this entire journey, there are going to be times that you feel like quitting. I talk about the phases of weight loss here and how not to quit during those phases. So this time, you're going to succeed.